Knock on wood, but I think this is the quietest that my dorm has been in approximately like 4 months. So perfect time to film the voiceover for my April 2024 bullet journal setup. I cannot believe it is April already. I feel like I say this all the time, but truly March and February went by super fast. But I'm really excited about this setup and I'm crossing my fingers that it turns out really well and that you guys like it. So I hope you do like it. Okay, so as you can see, we are not starting in my bullet journal, but rather we are starting on sticker paper because I'm actually going to be drawing these 3 pictures of fairies, specifically Tinkerbell, separately, coloring them separately, and then putting them into my bullet journal afterwards. So if you couldn't already tell, my theme for April is Tinkerbell inspired vaguely. I'm actually filming an entire how I set up my bullet journal theme for April video coming out in the next 2 weeks. It's basically a video about how I plan my theme and all of the behind the scenes setup that goes into making a full bullet journal setup that I actually film. So definitely subscribe so you don't miss that video coming out in a couple weeks, because there's a lot of good information that I kind of let you guys in with, like how my brain works and how I think through planning themes like this. But in that video, I'm going to talk about how I was thinking about what theme in the past I've really enjoyed making and trying to recreate something similar. So I was brought back to last May of last year. I did an Alice in Wonderland scrapbooking theme, and that was just a great theme for me. It was actually my favorite theme of last year, but I was just super inspired by it. I loved taking a character and just pulling her aesthetic and using that for an entire theme, which I did with Alice in Wonderland last year. So for April this month, I thought I would do something a little different and do Tinkerbell, but with that same idea of drawing a character and then using scrapbooking materials and ephemera and washi tape to bring out the character's aesthetic in the pages of the bullet journal setup. So this process of using sticker paper and coloring images separately, I'm doing specifically because I'm actually coloring them in with alcohol markers. I've made a lot of videos about my process for using alcohol markers and what I do, so I'll link a couple down below in case you're interested in checking that out. But basically, alcohol markers have really strong pigments, and so they always bleed through pages, even the 160 GSM pages of my bullet journal. And so what I do is I use sticker paper to draw on instead, and then I will just cut out these images and paste them on top of layering in my bullet journal so nothing bleeds through, but I still get to use alcohol markers and blend them evenly on sticker paper. And speaking of sticker paper, that brings me to the sponsor of today's video, which is Online Labels, and I am super excited to be partnering with this brand again. You guys know how much I adore their sticker paper and their other products too, but this is the one that I use the most in my bullet journal. Like I said, I love using alcohol markers, but it's very difficult to use them directly in my journal, so by using the sticker paper, it simplifies the process so much for me. And another thing too is sometimes paper is like really textured, and so it's hard to get a smooth blend of markers because the paper itself has like divots in it and stuff. But Online Labels paper is like smoother than copy paper. It just is super buttery and very easy to blend colors. As you can see with Tinkerbell's skin, I used a variety of different shades of tans and pinks to kind of blend different shadows and stuff into her skin, and I feel like it blended super well on this paper, and specifically just because the sticker paper is super smooth and just really easy to use. I have used this technique of alcohol markers with Online Labels sticker paper many months before. In fact, I used it for last May, like I mentioned, for my Alice in Wonderland theme, and I also use it for other things like writing calligraphy, or later in this video I'm actually going to be using alphabet stamps to write out titles, and by putting them on sticker paper it makes it 10 times easier to put it into my journal, because rather than having to glue or tape anything, it automatically just has a sticky back that you can quickly peel in and paste in your journal. So overall, it just really simplifies my process, and I could not recommend Online Labels enough. So in case you're interested in checking them out, I'll have a link in the description box below for you to use, and you can use this link for money off your purchase as well. Thank you so much to Online Labels for sponsoring this video, and now let's continue my art process. So I want to be completely transparent with you guys, and I'm actually going to talk about this in the video where I'm planning my theme. It's coming out in 2 weeks, so again, a lot of stuff I might be talking about in that video in more depth. But recently I've noticed that sometimes when I use very pigmented alcohol markers, they actually bleed onto the other side of the page in my journal. This happened last November when I was drawing this lion queen, and I used a lot of very like saturated browns and stuff, and I realized that over time the pigment of the marker would actually seep onto the other side of of the journal when the journal was closed. And that was super annoying because then I would have yellow like streaks and markings on the other side of the page that I didn't want there. So I've realized this, and I've been trying to look for solutions to this problem, and one thing a subscriber suggested was using a sealant on top of my artwork. So I actually bought this very small bottle of Mod Podge and tested it out on a separate piece of artwork before filming. And basically what it is, it's a glue sealant that can be used for a lot of different crafts, but it dries completely clear. So basically whenever I finished drawing Tinkerbell, I just quickly painted over the artwork with Mod Podge. I just used a very small like sponge paintbrush, and it dried after like 5 minutes, and so it was perfectly clear. You couldn't even see it, but because the sealant is there, it is stopping the marker from bleeding onto the other side of the page, and this is just perfect for me. So I'm very, very glad that I spent, you know, a couple bucks. Honestly, it wasn't even that big of a deal, but I just went to the craft store and grabbed this because this is going to make it so much easier for me to use alcohol markers in my bullet journal from now on. For the bajillionth time, I love doing it, but I'm just trying to troubleshoot these little issues and make sure that you guys know the best and most efficient way to use alcohol markers, and that is with on-label sticker paper and now Mod Podge. Okay, so moving on to the scrapbooking part of the cover page now that we're finally back in my bullet journal. So I basically printed out a lot of images off the internet. It's like butterflies, plants, these lily of the valley flowers, a couple other various like pictures to cut out and print. And then I also referenced back to my very extensive stationery collection that I really need to start using more often, which is why I was excited to get a lot of stationery and ephemera use in this bullet journal setup. One thing, however, was I didn't have any double-sided tape or glue roller dots that I usually use, and so this makes me sound so petty, but I had to use purple Elmer's glue, which is totally fine. There's literally nothing wrong with Elmer's glue, but it was definitely an inconvenience for me because sometimes I get like really dainty things. Like for example, I pasted a doily in here, and that was actually a huge issue for me while filming because the first doily I used had very minimal space to glue, and because the glue is purple, even though it dries clear, if it clumps up, it still stays purple once it's dried. And so I really couldn't get the first doily I wanted to paste in to stick without having purple blotches everywhere. And so I had to use a different doily, and I made it work, but it's still difficult with glue because I feel like sometimes it's hard to get glue into like the very corners of things. And so even while the entire picture may be stuck down, sometimes the edges still want to peel up. I wish I had roller glue instead, like the roller dots that I usually use or double-sided tape. It just makes things very easy for me. It's also why I love sticker paper, once again. But unfortunately, I couldn't print everything on sticker paper, and I had ephemera that wasn't sticky backed, so I did what I could. I made do. It totally is fine. Everything turned out okay. It was just super funny seeing me use a purple glue stick. I felt like I was back in like middle school or something like that. So like I said, for this theme, I'm basically emulating Tinkerbell's aesthetic. So one thing I was trying to do was think about like spring themes and spring, you know, aesthetics, but that weren't necessarily like flowers. You guys know that meme that's like flowers in spring? Groundbreaking. Like that's kind of why I was thinking about it. I was like, flowers are cute. I love flowers. And there are definitely some flowers in this setup, like the lily of the valley flowers, but I want to do something a little different. So pulling from Tinkerbell's aesthetic, to me, that was like fairy in the woods. So dark trees, sparkles, white flowers, definitely butterflies. Butterflies and fairies are very similar, of course, with the wing aspect. And so I kind of merged those two into one theme idea here. I also used a lot of random ephemera like recipe cards, blocks of text, old music that I printed out, just some random ephemera. Like there's one that I pasted to the bottom right behind Tink, and I don't even know what it says, but it's just random colors of green and beige that kind of matches the color palette I'm using here. Speaking of, the color palette specifically is very clearly green. I wanted to do like a green, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of beige. And one thing specifically was last month for March, although my theme was very different last March, I drew frogs. It was very maximal, very colorful. All of it was drawn directly into my bullet journal. So the theme was very different, but it used a lot of green along with blues and peaches. So when I was planning out this theme, I wanted to make sure that although I was using a lot of green, it was still distinctively different from March. So although technically it is a different style of bullet journaling because I am scrapbooking rather than just drawing itself, the color palette was also important for me. And so I actually planned out a complete color palette, like of swatching of alcohol markers first and then water-based markers, because I wanted to make sure that I could do art both ways and they would still have matching color palettes. But in the final setup, I ended up only using like 2 water-based markers. That is a very light beige tombow and then a green tombow. And I use those very minimally throughout the spreads, but what you'll notice is I'm really not drawing anything else besides the Tinkerbells that I started off this video with. And so once all that was done, this entire setup is just me drawing very, very basic things like a calendar right here with very simple line art, some titles with black calligraphy, but then there's not a lot of like coloring and shading of things. It's basically just adding some color with grids in the backgrounds or stripes in the backgrounds, but all of the main decoration comes from the ephemera and the scrapbooking aspects of the theme, which made it easy because I didn't have to draw anything. However, I think it's important to note, because I have talked about this in the past, I have had weird experiences with scrapbooking themes. I do scrapbook a lot on this channel, specifically in my reading bullet journal setups that I've started posting more consistently, because it's more like a one and done, film the setup and then you're done making spreads for it kind of thing. However, weekly spreads for me do become difficult because sometimes scrapbooking themes take a little longer to do. It depends. If it's a really intensive drawing that I was going to do, that would obviously take longer, but scrapbooking requires like cutting, pasting, rearranging, thinking about things, and it can definitely be therapeutic, but sometimes when I'm trying to think of like a weekly spread and just get it out and onto paper really quickly, scrapbooking themes take a lot longer and it's just an extensive use of my time. Which is why in the past, sometimes when I've done scrapbooking themes, sometimes the weekly spreads or any other spread that I made after I stopped filming just turned out really bad because I either got lazy and didn't do any ephemera and scrapbooking in it, or I did do the ephemera but I was trying to rush and I just didn't turn out well. I'm specifically thinking of my themes from September and October and November from a year or two ago. I think it was 2 years ago. In 2022, I was in the midst of a creative block and my weekly spreads all turned out very bad because I wasn't in the mood to do any scrapbooking after I stopped filming. However, thinking back to last May, that was a scrapbooking theme and those weekly spreads were amazing because I was really in a creative like burst of energy and I always wanted to be making new spreads in the same theme. So all of that being said, my conclusion for April is I've actually debated making all of my weekly spreads at once. So usually I do a new weekly spread every single Sunday, and I usually film it too and post it on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and Instagram Reels. However, I have cut back on my Shorts production and I'm trying to create different types of videos that I didn't usually used to make before, just to give myself more inspiration and be more creatively fulfilling. So because of that, I've stopped posting as many weekly spreads, which means I don't have to technically make a new one every Sunday to make content, and instead I could just do them all at once and have all of my weekly spreads set up in advance. This is something I might make a video about to talk about my process, because it would mean that I technically am not doing anything in this bullet journal until I start my May setup, because all of my spreads for April are already done. However, it could also be a huge time saver, and if I just spend one day being really creative, then I'll have a lot of very pretty bullet journal weekly spreads, and I won't have to stress about, on a Sunday night, like, oh, I didn't make a spread yet, let me go do something that will take me 2 hours, you know what I mean? So I'll keep you updated on how it goes. I may do it, I may not, but if I post anything about it, you'll probably see it on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts before you see it in a YouTube video. So go follow my other social medias if you are not already, because I'm always updating you guys over there as well. Okay, so moving on to the next spread in the setup is going to be my academic planner. I actually did a collab with Jashi Koren and about 12 other YouTube creators in a video that she posted on her channel, where we all spent like a minute or two talking about one of our most important bullet journal spreads, and I'll link that video down below if you're interested. It was a really good video. I think everyone had really cool input. However, the spread that I mentioned in that video was my academic planner, because truly this has been a lifesaver while I've been in college. I started college last August, so it's still my first year, but I am just super organized of a person and I need a spread like this to keep everything together. Right now, when I'm thinking about it, there are so many just random pieces moving at the same time in all of my classes, because we're coming up to the last month of the semester before finals, and so all of the projects are being finished, all of our essays are being turned in, quizzes and stuff like that is all just coming into this very last penultimate month, and I need a place to keep all of my to-dos and everything. So that's what my academic planner spread is for. Personally, I don't really need that many labels on this spread because I know what things things are, but this might seem a little confusing. What they are 4 different weeks of 5, because there are 4 different weeks in April, and they're, well, 5 technically, but there are only 2 days in the last week, so I'll just count those in my May setup. So 4 different weeks that I'm counting here, and then I'm taking 5 different classes right now. So it's basically like each column is a different class, each row is a different week, and I'll just put all of my to-dos or things that are due that week in the box. And then during the weekly spreads, that's when I'll transport all of my monthly academic to-dos into the weeklies, and that way I'll make sure I get everything done by Friday, and the same thing happens the following week. So pretty simple. It's a spread that I've been doing a lot recently, and it's just super helpful and beneficial to me. If you're enjoying this video so far and you want to see more bullet journaling content from me, make sure you go down there and hit that red subscribe button, and also like this video if you enjoy it. I'm working on my way towards 20K by the end of this year, and I also post bullet journaling, reading journaling, and productivity videos every single week. So if you want to see more from me, definitely subscribe. So while I was filming the setup, I actually spent a very long time filming the setup. The raw footage was about 3.5 hours, but I sat here for I think 4 yesterday, and then another hour and a half this morning. So it took me a total of 5.5 hours to film this setup. I told you guys, scrapbooking themes sometimes take a little longer to get everything together because there's a lot of cutting and pasting. But you know, to pass the time, I was listening to a Netflix show called One Day, and I think it came out like a month ago. People have been talking about it a little bit online. I mean, I'm not really in that area of online, so maybe they're talking about it more than I think, but I started the first episode like a month ago, didn't love it, but recently when I was filming, I just decided to put it on, you know, so I could finish the season, because the episodes are very short. They're only like 25 minutes. And let me tell you, I binged the entire season in about a day, and I did indeed almost sob at the end. I'm not going to spoil anything, but oh my gosh. And it was super funny too, because while I was filming, like you can hear in the video my reaction to the second to last and the beginning of the last episode. I was like going through it. And so I'm going to put here just a little bit of my like verbal reaction to the last couple minutes of this show because it's kind of funny. Just as a warning though, this is a little spoilery, so skip to this timestamp here on the screen if you don't want to hear it. I'll let you have 1 more second. Skip. Okay, here it is. Don't get hit by a car. Oh, I knew it! Oh my god, I knew it! Oh my gosh, is she dead? Please tell me she's not dead. Don't be dead. Don't be dead. Don't be dead. Okay, you're alive. You're alive. Oh my god. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? Oh my god. Yeah, so as you could tell, I was definitely going through it. Overall, I thought the show was really good. Without spoilers, it's about a girl and a guy who meet in college, and then it just shows them one day every single year on July 15th for about 2 decades, I think. And it's very well done. I thought the acting was brilliant, chemistry was amazing, and it does have a very emotional ending. So I'm not going to spoil it, but just want to let you know that because I was unaware. I kind of figured I read a lot of romance and watch a lot of romance, so I kind of see some patterns sometimes, and so I kind of expected it to be a not completely happy ending. I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, a really good show. I do recommend it. It took me a little bit to get into, but I enjoyed it by the end of the series. I think I gave the entire thing as a whole about 4.5 stars, but yeah, really good. As we're coming up to the end of this video, well, relatively, there's still quite a bit left, but this was the second day of filming this morning, and I filmed at a different time, so the lighting is a little whack, but I mentioned it in all my videos. Would it really be a video of mine without weird lighting and shots of my forehead getting into the video? It would not, so just please bear with the weird lighting, as always. So this spread here is my tracker spread. On the left is my expenses, and then on the right is my habit trackers, and this is basically the exact same thing as last month in March, just flipped now that they're on the opposite sides for no particular reason. I just wanted them to switch, but yeah, it's incredibly similar to last month's layout for this spread, and also the title going across the top is very similar, so nothing too fancy here. I do want to talk about, since there are a lot of newbies to my channel, if you're not aware, I actually have created an undated bullet journal that I sell on my online shop, and it's completely undated so that you can start the bullet journal wherever you like, but there is art already done in it for you, so it's perfect perfect for people who don't have much time to bullet journal or who are not very artistically inclined, but they want to maybe color in some spreads and plan out their life. All that to say that my theme for April, well, April, quote unquote, if you're using the journal and you started in January, is actually a tiger theme that I did last year on my own bullet journal for June. And I think it's super cool. My sister uses the journal and she sent me a photo of her setup, and I am really excited to see all of your creations. So if you have the Undated bullet journal and you are coloring April, quote unquote April in, and you're doing the tiger theme, send a picture to me on Instagram or tag me if you post it. I would love to see your creations. And also, if you're interested in an Undated bullet journal, my links for my shop are always in the description box below. So a couple Plan With Me's ago, towards the end of the video, I talked about a couple of like life updates that I've just been going through. And I think it's kind of nice to just check in with you guys, you know, every month or so. Since this is April, so we're getting into Q2 of the year, and I'm not going to be doing a quarterly reset video for this particular month. So I wanted to talk about a couple goals that I have for myself in Q2. I haven't officially looked at all the goals I set at the beginning of the year before filming this voiceover, so I couldn't tell you like what specific goals that I set in January I'm going to be working towards this particular next 3 months. We'll kind of just see what happens, but off the top of my head, one thing that I'm really wanting to focus on is just getting back onto my content grind. I've been having a lot of trouble recently with creating content, specifically because I've been uninspired for filming shorts, and then also because I feel like my channel just is going through a little bit of a divot right now in like my video performance and stuff like that, and I'm working on it, and I'm definitely trying to think of video ideas that are interesting and cool and that also are creatively fulfilling for me, and also working with the YouTube algorithm and seeing, you know, how I can get my videos out there, that kind of thing. I don't know if any of you guys have YouTube channels, you may relate to this, but as a small creator, it is definitely, you know, a struggle to kind of get yourself out there. And I'm not saying this at all to be like, you know, pity me or whatever, literally not at all. I do not want to say that at all, but I'm just trying to be like, it's definitely a process growing a channel and becoming a content creator and stuff like that. And if any of you guys out there have similar channels like I do, or just create content at all, I'm just sending encouragement your way. You know, we're all in this together, and I know good things are coming around the corner, so I'm just very excited about it and to get back into, like I said, my content grind. Another thing is for the next 3 months, I really am excited to get my first year of college, check that off in the books. I'm going to be finishing college in about 6 weeks by the time that I'm filming this video. So, or not finishing college, finishing my first year of college, okay? I'm getting ahead of myself. But one goal is to finish with good grades and declare my majors. Currently, I am double majoring in film and marketing, and that may change later down the line, but currently that is my plan to declare at the end of this month, and I'm very excited about it. And then my last goal, I think, is just to reconnect with my friends over the summer. I have a lot of friends that of course moved away to university across the country, and also I moved away from my hometown as well, and so I'm really excited to have the summer free. I'll be back in my hometown. I'll have all my friends there as well, so we can connect again. My birthday's in June. I'm just really excited for the summer. Like, I'm actually pumped for the summer. I'm going to visit my friend in Tennessee, actually. There's so many cool things happening at the end of May, early June, so I am really, really excited for that. But yeah, overall, those are just my plans for the next couple months, and we'll see what gets done before Q3. Ending off this video with a very quick weekly spread just to start myself off right, and here we have the final flip through. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, in a couple weeks I'll be posting a how I plan my bullet journal theme video to give you guys more of a behind the scenes process for this. As always, thank you so much to Online Labels for sponsoring this video. Their sticker paper is a lifesaver to me. I cannot recommend them enough, and my link will be down below in the description box if you want to get some sticker paper for yourself. Sending you guys so much love. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see another video from me, check out this video here where I talked about my 5 favorite and most used types of bullet journal weekly spreads. Have a great week.